Welcome everyone, it is Dylan from Class 1A bringing you another My Hero Academia chapter breakdown. This week we have chapter 342, The Extreme Quiet Before the Storm. Now, I'm a little bit confused about the name though. Why would you call it Extreme Quiet Before the Storm? Why not just like the Calm Before the Storm? I actually read some translations beforehand, like some fan ones. That one makes a lot more sense, it's a whole saying and stuff, so a little confused on what Shonen Jump was doing with the translation, but anyways, we'll get into it. We kick off the chapter Iwe where we get a bit of point of view from two undercover villains living among civilian refugees. They are there to sow doubt directed at the heroes. Okay, so this totally makes sense with like the League of Villains or the Paranormal Liberation Front or whatever they are right now. Just having like these deep roots everywhere. I mean, it totally makes sense that we have villains that don't necessarily have quirks. They're just living among the civilians with sympathies towards the villain side. And I mean, at this point, it's basically just like a civil war, though one side is definitely a lot smaller than the other. We then cut over to the dorms where the students are exhausted from their search efforts. Though they are moments from passing out, All Might enters, who's ready to talk about the plans for the Second War. Okay, and just hearing the words like Second War, just like it just lights every neuron in my brain up at once. Like the first War Act was incredible, amazing. I'm just so unimaginably hyped that we're gonna get another one. And like this time, we're going all out. Like after this, it's over. Like the manga is totally over after this. So Horikoshi is gonna pull no stops here. Okay, and one thing I did have a little bit of a problem here was Mineta like talking about like trading dirty stories. Like I like Mineta, I like his shtick and everything, but it is a little bit much, okay? It's a little bit much. He's getting to be sort of a caricature of himself here. I don't know, like especially at moments like this, like I want him to be funny, but a little bit more true to form. Like if they're out searching for like a villain that is going to destroy the entire world in a couple days, do you think he's gonna be making kind of like dumb jokes like this? I don't know. I'm like the one person that will sit here and defend Mineta to the death, but I cannot stand with him right now. We then cut across to all the hero groups from Endeavor Hawks, Aoyama Aizawa, and the students, who are all getting the plans for what is to come. Okay, so the one thing that really did interest me here is the shot of Kurogiri and like what is going on here. So one of the theories I saw floating around out there is around Eri, and that if you think about it, Eri can kind of reverse time on like singular living objects. This is why she was able to like turn her dad into like an embryo and effectively kill him that way. But what if you did this for Kurogiri? Would you be able to then revert him back to Oboro? So they can't just undo everything with like technology and like medicine right now. But what if you had Eri reverse the time on Kurogiri into when he's just Oboro again? Like in theory, she should be able to do that because she could just kind of pull back the time on things like that. So I don't know, I'm getting a little bit excited that we might actually have Oboro come back into the story, which would be insanely cool. The next day, Principal Nezu announces to the civilians that Shigaraki's attack will begin in 4 days. But students are heading out, not to lead the civilians in the middle of the fight. Even the undercover villains are shocked at this. Essentially, their plans are totally nullified. Then the students begin to say their goodbyes. We get shots of the Todoroki family, Inko, Koda, Eri, people that we've grown to know and love around of our heroes. And this is it. This really is it. Like, this is the end of our story here. Like, we're finally getting our goodbyes, and I know we still have like a year left. We have a lot of time until we actually get to the end, but this is the starting point of it. Saying goodbye to the family, like wrapping up here. Like, it's crazy to think about that we might not get any more interaction between Deku and Inko until it's about over and we're in the epilogue. I don't know, it's just crazy to think about. This is the point of the story we're actually at finally. Everything from here on out is just going to be war, fighting, and it's going to be hype. We then cut over to a makeshift stronghold that the students will be staying at. A setup similar to the UA dorms, but well away from the civilians to keep them safe. Okay, major red flag here. They called it Troy. Could they just not? Could they maybe not do that and put a big red flag painted on the outside of it? So obviously the implications here are that there is going to be some Trojan horse that ends up infiltrating this stronghold. Like, I think that's like the over explained part of this. Like, there's like, why else would they call this thing Troy? So definitely expect some sort of like break-in at some point. Probably Toga. She makes the most sense of like being able to look like someone else and sneak inside, but just think about it. And then finally alone, Deku gets his chance to thank Uraraka for all the kind words she said in front of all of UA. They share a moment where they revealed their feelings about the villains, how Uraraka saw something in Toga and Deku saw something in Shigaraki, that these are people who've done terrible things, but they need to be saved too. They shouldn't be forgiven, but they also want to help them. And it turns out these two heroes have a lot in common there. They share the same heart. Now, I definitely love this because it's saying what they've been thinking out loud and actually verbalizing it to each other. I think this is a really good moment for like their bonding together of like, yeah, they kind of view villains the same way of like, these are people who have done objectively terrible things. They've ended human lives, but they're heroes. Like, they're heroes and they want to save these villains because at the end of the day, like, they've done bad things, but they are still people. They're still people who are victims to whatever circumstances. They've done bad things and they need to atone for that, but they also need to be saved. And I also love how it's setting up for their showdowns kind of separately of like, they're building this rapport of like Deku is going to take on Shigaraki and Uraraka is going to fight Toga and it's going to be this big battle, but there's also like this emotion going behind it too. We then end the chapter with Todoroki sharing the same feelings about his brother Dabi, how he could even see getting food with him sometime, and that all three of our heroes are still saying that they need to stop them. And then we cut to All for One, calling for the orders to start the operation today. Again, love this moment, and I'm glad that Todoroki is in here because like before, it was just like, I need to stop Toya, I need to stop Toya, I need to stop Toya. And finally it's like, yeah, I need to stop him, but he's my brother. Like, he literally is his brother, and he's growing this relationship again with his entire family. It just makes sense that this other relationship, he wants something. Like, his brother is bad, and he has done terrible things, and he's killed a lot of people, but he's also a victim to his father's abuse, just like he was. And like, yeah, there is a world where he would love to go and get food with him sometime and just chat. But also, we're not living in that reality. We're living in the reality that these are villains that need to be stopped. And I think that like push and pull, like these complex feelings that they're feeling is incredibly humanizing to our characters, and I love it. I love how Horikoshi is painting it here. And I also love how they're painting everything because like it's in parallels. Like, we've grown to love Todoroki over time because we've lived with them and we've seen the things that we've done. And we're also feeling the same thing about the villains too, a little bit of like, yeah, I love these characters. I love Toga, I love Shigaraki, I love Dabi. Like, we've been with these characters for so long and they've done bad things, but also we know their backstories now. Like, we know how tragic these characters are and how much they've done bad things, but they're victims of different circumstances. Dabi's a victim of Endeavor's abuses, and that's what led him down this path. He still made the active choices of being a villain, but there are things that led him down that path. Same thing with Toga and being bullied. Same thing with Shigaraki and having his quirk destroy his life in front of him. These are victims and they need to be saved, but they have also done bad things. Like, these are complex human emotions, and it's incredible to me that Horikoshi is capturing it so well and kind of conveying it in like a very concise way here. I absolutely love it. I'm so excited to see how this actually pans out in a fight that is going to have this deep emotion behind it. It's setting for something incredible. So overall, I just really like this chapter. I love the way that they painted everything. I like how they're setting it up now of like detaching them from the civilians, of being like, hey, a war is coming, so we're going to get you away from like the innocent people, and you can kind of focus on the fights from here on out. So I really like how they're setting that up. I want to know what secret plans All Might has going. Like, he's telling everyone these plans, and obviously it's going to be big and complex and a lot of moving parts. So I want to see what's happening there. And also, the stuff with All for One is insane. Like, just it's starting the attack early. I'm assuming what this means is that they're going to start some sort of fire, some sort of kindling to this war. Now, the two things that really stand out to me, obviously, is the stronghold, calling it Troy. It's setting up to be some sort of infiltration there. That is a good place to start kicking things off. But also, we have Spinner, who went out with like a huge mob of villains. So I assume there's going to be something there as well. So I'm guessing there's going to be a multi-prong attack coming that's really going to kick things off, that's going to cripple all the students at UA, while crippling a lot of like the UA infrastructure most likely. I really like the moment that we shared with like Deku and Uraraka. I feel like it is setting up for that obvious kind of like romantic tension that's coming towards the end, because yeah, it kind of makes sense that like if the world is falling apart, you're not going to be focusing on like, hey, there's this girl I like and this guy I like, or anything like that. It's going to be deeper than that. You're going to have to show it through like these interesting like bonds that they have and the feelings that they're feeling and what it means for them to be heroes together. And it's a weird scene because this is like the first time we see them together and one of them isn't flustered. And it's a very humanizing moment of like, these are just two characters now and just existing together. It's not like overly dramatic, over the top or anything. It's just them sharing a moment. And I think we're going to see that throughout this, leading up towards the end of where we can have that kind of romantic conclusion there. And also it doesn't whiz past me that like it's almost Valentine's Day. We also got the special promo art of like the Lovers Tarot card with both of them on the front of it, released in like one of the newer volumes. Didn't get past me there, but good moment for this to happen then. But I mean, overall, just expect things to pop off next chapter. We're gonna get a chapter in another 7 days, and honestly, I just can't wait for it. I just cannot wait for it. I'm so incredibly hyped. I've been hyped literally on this series like for the past year as things been building up. Like as soon as we left the war arc, like very clearly we're setting the ground for this last huge act, and it's gonna be incredible. I'm so excited to see like how they're gonna lead towards the end because we're getting the feelings. We're finally feeling like it's about to end, and I'm sad, I'm excited, I'm nervous, I'm like every emotion on the spectrum right now. So, but it's gonna be incredible, and I'm so excited to share it all with you as we go through it. So if you're really excited for this series, and please join Class 1A. I like to paint this a little bit as like we read the chapter, we kind of come together and just chat about it, because it's always fun reading things week by week and just getting a chance to just talk about it with people. So make sure you're subscribed, and we'll see you all next class.